This is Robin with Horror Pop After Midnight. I'm here at GalaxyCon in Columbus, and I'm talking to paranormal investigator and writer James A. Willis. How's it going, James?
It's going very well. It just started here Saturday, the madness, but it's great to be here. It's my second year. Really looking forward to this weekend.
So, tell me your latest book you're working on.
There's actually four that I'm working on. The two that I think I'm allowed to talk about is Northern Ohio Legends and Lore, which was, I did a series, so I started with Central Ohio Legends and Lore, then Southern Ohio Legends and Lore, and of course the third one, which is coming out in about a year, is Northern Ohio. So it's, I like to say it's my trilogy, but that makes me sound pompous and arrogant, but I kind of like it that way. So it's, so I'm working on that. I'm also working on a book, The Loveland Frog Amalgam, which is this bizarre creature that people started seeing since the 1950s in Loveland, Ohio, that most people describe as a 4 to 6 foot tall, half man, half frog creature with a magic wand. So I've been researching it for about 20 years and found there are little kernels of truth to the different parts of the story, including the magic wand. So that's kind of been a blast working on. And then there's two others. One, well, actually both of them I don't think I'm supposed to talk about just yet, so we'll leave that out there. But no, I guess I could talk about it. There's has Ohio's Historic Haunts 2, which is obviously the follow-up to my Ohio's Historic Haunts, which I did with Kent State University, which was amazing. It was one of the first times that a prominent university backed a quote-unquote ghost book. So we're working on the second one of that as well.
You got me out that. I don't live too far from Loveland. I've heard all kinds of strange stories from the Frogman. Also, I heard some stories from Loveland police that have kind of seen some paranormal stuff.
Yeah, the big thing is obviously with the Loveland Frog is there is in 1972, two police officers about a week and a half apart from each other claim that they saw this creature. One of them actually even shot at it because he was either frightened or he was trying to defend himself or just wanted to see what it was, depending what story you hear. And that's what kind of gave weight to the story that there was something running or hopping around down there. But what's really interesting is when you dive deep into that part of the legend, it's described as being like an oversized lizard. It's not really described as what came later, which is that it's a 4 to 6 foot tall man beast kind of creature. So, but yeah, the reports of the Loveland police officers encountering Loveland Frog are actually true, or encountering something that became known as the Loveland Frog.
You're also known for the book Word Ohio. So is there going to be a part 2?
There probably will be a part 2. It's especially since after about 20 years, Weird Ohio is finally going out of print. So I'm telling people, get your copies now. Here at GalaxyCon, we've got the last 84 copies that were in the warehouse. So yeah, publishers do like when one goes out of print, the next one's coming in. So yeah, don't wait. There will be something coming as a part 2 because Ohio is weird, and the Buckeye State's really proud to be weird, and so I would be remiss if there was not a weirder Ohio in the works as well.
So, have you found anything else that's weird around Ohio? I mean, you've seen a lot of stuff. Has there been anything that really stuck to your mind that you wouldn't mind writing about?
Wow. As I said, Ohio's a very weird state, so I'm never at a loss of what to write about, because what's great is when I was going out and working on Weird Ohio, and I was out because I had to take the photographs of the locations as well, people would always say to me, like, what are you doing? I'd be like, well, I'm writing for this book, Weird Ohio, and they would say, well, if you think this is weird, you need to check this out. And then the list would grow. A lot of times they were talking about a relative, and I'm like, not really that kind of weird. So I'm trying to think of some of the places that I haven't actually even gone to yet, and none of them are actually springing to mind. So if you or any of your people that are watching this, shoot me a thing, strangeandspookyworld.com, and let me know where I should go. It's weird in Ohio, but there are just like tons of them. I tend to like the roadside oddities, the ones that are sort of off the beaten path. That I go my whole life and not thinking it actually exists. And as I said, you go around the corner and you're like, it does exist. The recent one that is kind of a developing story was there was a statue that was always referred to as handless Jacques that was up near Marblehead. It was a giant statue of a very French-looking man. He had the mustache, and he had no hands. He just had his big hand sticking out like that, and everybody drove by it and they thought it was weird. And I was the guy who turned around and was like, what is the story behind this? And found that he didn't have hands because he actually came from Jacques Roast Beef. That was a store that was down in Marion, and he had originally kind of like hands that were holding a tray of meat. And when they took the statue away, they kind of got rid of it, and he didn't have the meat anymore. Recently, an artist went back and they had a big unveiling, and they gave giant hands to Jacques. So now I refer to him lovingly as Big Meaty Hands Jacques. His cousin, another handless Jacques, has actually made its way to Belleville, Ohio. They gave him hamburgers. He's outside of a diner. They gave him hamburgers for hands. And he's supposed to be the world's tallest or largest bobblehead because his head kind of flaps around. So more on that to come. But yeah, those are the kind of things that I go after.
You collect a lot of stuff from all of your journeys as well, and you just got supposedly a haunted object from somebody from the UK.
That is correct. Yeah, we do. It's an interesting thing because I'm always intrigued with the idea of haunted objects. I believe in all this weird stuff, but I also am intrigued. I'm like, well, how does that work? So I'm not really ever satisfied with just saying, yes, this is haunted, this is not. Haunted objects are always fascinating to me because how does that work? You know, if we're saying that it is indeed haunted, what do we, if let's just say we read Beetlejuice's handbook for the recently deceased, and we actually knew what to do when we got to the other side, is that a conscious decision to say, I'm going to hang around this item? And so people will send me haunted items. And what I do is I get very scientific. I try to be like Ghostbusters, but I will put the object inside of a plexiglass case that has got 360 cameras around it. It's got microphones. It's got all sorts of detection devices to see if it does anything. Because I want to know, you know, what. Now, the fact that this came from overseas was even more fascinating because did it come overseas? And that to me would just blow my mind. That would mean that ghosts and spirits have the ability to travel overseas. It's too early to tell because that just arrived. It gave off basic readings, baseline readings, nothing very odd or anything. So stay tuned for that to see if anything happens. But yeah, I do collect. A lot of times people will tell me, I don't know if this is haunted, but since I brought it in the house, bad things are happening, just get it out. And so I take it, and what is incredibly fascinating is 9 times out of 10, the activity in the house stops, but yet nothing happens with the haunted object in my collection. So does that mean the spirit left, or was there some psychological aspect where people were having things happening and connected it to a ghost? So those are the things that I call my 2-bottle conversations, because it takes 2 bottles of your favorite adult beverage, if you're legal drinking age, of course, to kind of unpack it to be how does that all work? And I love that aspect of I don't want to have all the answers. I think it would be an incredibly boring world if I knew all the answers. So it's that thirst for knowledge that really keeps me going.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Take care. Enjoy the con.